I was just about to remind you.
Thank you, Rhonda. I'll shut my email as well. Okay. Jennifer Williams, as committee chair, would you like to go ahead and open the meeting for us?
There it is. Yes, I can do that. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Now that I unmuted, it's been a while. Yeah, welcome everyone. Let's get the meeting started. Yep, go ahead and introduce yourselves by typing your name and your library in the chat.
I thought too, this is Anthony Dieter's first database committee meeting with us. He joined us in June. So I thought, Anthony, we could let you say a little bit about yourself, and we're hoping that some of you might see Anthony in the coming weeks as he gets out and visits libraries. So take it away, Anthony.
Thank you, Erica. Yep, hi. As Erica says, I'm Anthony Dieter. I've been the new operations manager here at RSA for almost 4 months. Previous to that, I was the director of the Dixon Public Library up in Northwest Illinois for the last 8 years. And before that, I was a district librarian for a school district also in Northwestern Illinois for 3 years prior to that. Yeah, hi everyone.
Thank you, Anthony, for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay. I thought the next thing we do, just something fun. So who was the first group of people in history to use scarecrows? Let me see if I can launch a poll. Okay, so your choices are the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Egyptians, or the Greeks. We've got mixed answers. Okay, it looks like it's slowed down. The correct answer is the Egyptians. Okay. All right, before we move further ahead into the meeting, I did want to show you where the agenda is posted for today. Remember, we have a new support site, support.librariesofrsa.org. An easy way to get to the database committee webpage is to go up here at the top navigation bar and go to events, and then committee meetings, and then database committee. Okay, so notice on the left side of the screen, we have a quick shortcut to the agendas. So here's the one for today. Okay, we've taken care of number 1. So we'll go ahead and move to meeting housekeeping. So Jennifer, do you want to go over the meeting housekeeping rules?
Sure, I can do that. Please make sure your microphone is muted, not when you try to talk like I do, but I'll get better. You were automatically muted when you joined the meeting, so it should be video encouraged, but optional. I used this as a reason to attempt to clean this week, so that was a good thing for me. It's much cleaner than it was, which is scary. Use the chat window to enter questions, but if you prefer to ask your question verbally, just unmute and ask to chime in. To turn on closed captioning, click the live transcript button on the Zoom toolbar at the top and or the bottom, and click show subtitle. This may be in the more menu also. And then this meeting will be recorded. The recording started. Notes will be taken and slides will be available. The RSA listserv will have an announcement when that happens.
Excellent. Okay, our next agenda item is Dr. Pamela Thomas from the Cataloging Maintenance Center has joined us to give us an update what they've been up to since the last database meeting. So Pam, when you are ready.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes,
And you can see me now.
yes.
It's just a little slow today, or maybe it's just me. All right. So, as some of you know, because I know some of you have been attending our Online with the CMCs, but we started our FY 2024 Online with the CMC webinars in August. However, if you missed the August or September webinars, you can listen to the recordings that's on our website. And our upcoming October webinar, we're doing a Stump the CMC. We're asking people to send in some of their difficult cataloging questions ahead of time, as well as asking them at the live webinar. We would just like to have a couple of them to answer at the beginning so we don't have a bunch of dead air during our live session. In November, Eric McKinney is going to be presenting Constructing Our Past Cataloging Blueprints. And on December 14th, Kat Anderberg will be presenting A Place for Everything, Digital File Organization. And in January, Barb Scobie and Mary Cornell will be presenting Slaying the Genre, Investigating Genre Headings. We do have more, but I just thought I would do the quarterly. So this fiscal year, we're also offering a 2-week focus on series of cataloging and on serials. That starts October 30th. We're doing a driving record that's in November, cataloging binge boxes in December, cataloging DVDs in January, world language cataloging in March, cataloging CDs in April. And we'll see how successful those are, and we might offer more topics in the future. We'll also be offering subject analysis in May. Eric will be teaching the cataloging basics class in July. Both of those are 6-week courses. And then I'll also be teaching the cataloging 3D objects, kits, and regalia next September, because we have classes scheduled out that far. And that's a 4-week class. And you can register for any or all of these training opportunities in L2. We continue cataloging local authors, local history, local genealogy, and special collections. So please keep sending your items to us for free cataloging. We appreciate that. And we've been cataloging items in many world languages as well. So just make sure that your world language items are part of a special collection. We also continue working on the Prairie Cat Cleanup Project, where over 20,000 records have been updated or identified as merges in Encore. The Carly Cleanup Project continues as well, with over 3.1 million records merged, updated, or deleted. And we'll be starting on a new cleanup project, the RSA backlog, in October. Eric and I will be presenting a poster session on October 2nd from 4 to 5 p.m. at the ISLE conference, which is here in Champaign. So if you're there, please stop by. And Eric and I will also be co-presenting at the ILA conference, and the CMC will be hosting a booth. So please attend our sessions or stop by the booth to grab some CMC swag if you're at the ILA conference. And we've got a new brochure. So hopefully we'll have those to hand out. And Nancy and Joy Ann Holt and I will also be presenting a panel discussion on training opportunities at the ILA conference as well. So it's conference season.
There's a lot going on. In
There's always a lot going on.
Conferences add even more to it. Does anyone have any questions for Pam? I put her phone number and her email address on the screen in case you think of something.
And I'll try to put the link to the brochure. I don't know if you guys will be able to open it or not. Because it just got done yesterday. So maybe it didn't keep the link. Sorry, I'll try to find that for you. All right, thanks.
A shout out to Barb and Sherry at Anthony's former library doing special collections. Yeah, you had lots of local treasures there that were not accessible.
And I hope
until they were
that Dixon
cataloged.
keep sending us stuff because you guys have cool stuff there.
Okay. Thank you, Pam, for joining us. Okay. Nancy's unable to join us today, but Rhonda is going to read Nancy's update for us. So take it away, Rhonda, when you're ready.
Hi, everyone. I'm just going to read from Nancy's document and throw some links out when they're mentioned. So the Rails cataloging service update for September 2023. Cataloging courses. Rails provides diverse cataloging training opportunities for members. We are excited to announce an upcoming webinar in November 2023, focusing on the topic of inclusive cataloging by an outside presenter. The specific date and presenter details will be communicated to you through our e-newsletter and Rails Tech Services listserv. Stay tuned for more information about that. A Moodle course on cataloging monographs using RDA will be offered on January 22nd through March 3rd. Registration will start on December 1st. This course will give valuable insights and practical knowledge in cataloging monographs. And here's the L2 link for that. All training will be listed on L2. Rails continues to develop new courses and revise the content of existing courses. Please reach out to Nancy if you have suggestions for cataloging courses you would like to have Rails offer. As you can see, Erica has provided us with Nancy's email address and some links for the cataloging training and world language cataloging services provided by Rails. And she's already got the training link put up there, but I will go ahead and throw it into chat as well.
Sorry, Rhonda, I was trying to make it a little easier for you.
Thank you. No, that's very helpful. Thank you. All right, now ILA conference. Mark calendars for October 25th from 3 to 4 p.m. as we present a session dedicated to free cataloging resources and valuable tips. This session is specially designed for those who are new to cataloging or have limited access to subscription cataloging services. Also, join us on October 25th from 1:45 p.m. to 2:45 p.m. for an enlightening session that will unveil the pathways for catalogers to cultivate their understanding of cataloging practices. During this session, participants will gain insights into locating valuable resources for training, discover platforms to seek guidance on cataloging, and explore opportunities for networking within the field. Don't miss this opportunity to nurture your cataloging expertise. Any questions you have about any of this, please direct them to Nancy at her email address because I wouldn't be able to answer your questions. So now I'm going to move on to her next bullet point, which is mentorship program for cataloging professionals of Illinois. We are in the process of preparing a survey scheduled for November 2023. This survey aims to gauge the interests of cataloging professionals in Illinois regarding the potential establishment of a mentoring program. Your participation in this survey is crucial as it will assist us in making an informed decision about launching such a program for cataloging professionals in Illinois. Keep an eye out for the survey, which will be distributed via Rails e-news and various Rails listservs. Your input is greatly appreciated. And then last but not least, the world language cataloging. We have cataloged items in 19 different languages and have cataloged more than 650 items so far. There is no limit to the number of items that libraries can submit to us. Your items are welcome and we're enthusiastic about fulfilling your cataloging requirements. Feel free to send them our way and we'll be delighted to assist you. And again, their world language cataloging service program details can be found at that website that I just provided and Erica has on the slide for you. Remember, if you have any questions about anything in the update, please direct your questions to Nancy, Nancy George at railslibraries.org. Her email's on the slide, and that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Rhonda. Okay. What is next? Okay, we've got Independence update with Kendall.
All right. I am not going to go super deep into independence at this meeting. What I do want you all to know is that it exists. we are converting our governance structure, which will then allow us to directly hire our staff. If you would like to know much more about this, use the link on the new support site, the Independence Project link that is there. If you go to the old website, because that's where your bookmark takes you, there's also a link on the old website as well, right there. And also that like a quarter of the way down the page, there's a big click for details, dates, and documents. All of those basically take you back to the page on the new site. And that page has why are we doing this? And then if we scroll down, it's got the overall milestones. We've broken it out into 3 years of work. And then this first year, the governance conversion bit is the most important for member libraries, primarily your directors and management staff. And so we've broken out all of the major things for the next, 8 months or so on this page. And we will be adding things like draft copies of the bylaws, draft copies of the IGA, the drafts of new fee structures, those types of things will all get posted to this page as we keep it moving forward. And we are in the process of mailing out a letter to each library, to their administrator or director. That's a little bit more important for schools because the school administrators have no idea what's going on with us. So we're trying to get the word out in direct mail as well, just so that people understand what is happening and what they will be seeing this year. The best way to get information about that is make sure you are signed up for the RSA listserv. I would say if you've got people in your library, they should be signed up for the RSA listserv, because if the system goes down, guess where we send that email? The listserv. So if for no other reason than to find out when the system is down, being signed up for the listserv is great. And as you know, if you're signed up for the listserv, we generally put right at the top of every email who that email is for. So it's pretty easy to triage. And the last quickie thing on this, after the November users group on November 9th, the next 2 weeks, we'll be going out to 5 different locations all around RSA and doing it's basically a talking and listening tour, because after that users group, there will be paperwork and draft copies of things and plenty of questions. And so we figure this will be our first foray out into all the libraries, specifically to start working on independence questions, and then member services may have some other things for us as well. Check L2. I think it's 14, 15, 16, 20, and 21 November, I believe, are those dates. Next slide. Is this still me, Erica? I think it is, right?
Yes, I thought we talked about this a little bit at the May database committee meeting. And please type in the text chat if you're still having trouble hearing me. I'm hoping that it's better. I'm a little bit nasally, I know. But we had started this discussion back in May. Kendall wasn't able to join us. And we have more of a plan now for the future of this group. So I thought today's meeting would be a good opportunity to revisit it. So I'll let you, Kendall, go through the main points and then I'll chime in where
Sure.
necessary.
All right, so we are currently a 501c3 not-for-profit charity, which means we do not have to follow the Open Meetings Act in Illinois for RSA meetings, which is great, because if we did, there would need to be 74 of us in one place to meet quorum requirements to be able to have a meeting. So that's why we're currently a 501c3. We are reconstituting as an Illinois intergovernmental instrumentality, which is subject to Open Meetings Act, but since we formed in 2011, from then to now, we have changed the way we do our management. We've moved almost all of the responsibility to the RSA Board of Directors, which we did not have in 2011 when we organized. So over the intervening years, we have now shifted RSA enough to make us be able to meet Open Meetings Act for all of our meetings. So the Board of Directors and there'll be a board subcommittee for Directors Advisory type committee. Those will both be subject to Open Meetings Act. But all of the other committees, the Database Committee, the CERT Committee, the RSA Day Committee, the RSA CAT Committee, Reports Committees, those committees will no longer be committees. They will not be written into the bylaws. They will become membership groups. And as a membership group, they are not subject to Open Meetings Act or the quorum requirements thereof. So through the end of our fiscal year, so that is June 30th of 2024, all of the committees will stay the same. So there will be an additional database committee meeting in Friday, May 17th. That'll be the last one of the committee meetings. After that, it'll be reformed as the RSA Technical Services Membership Group. Membership groups are going to be what the committees used to be. That is the wording we're using so that we can keep clear in our head who is and is not OMA. So that Technical Services Membership Group will be officially formed on July 1st of 2024. Primarily, we want these to be led by you in the libraries, right? These are not meant to be RSA talking at you committees. These are meant to be groups where you talk to each other and with us to do networking. How do you do this? How do you do that? All of that type of things with RSA support. Every one of these membership groups will have a staff liaison from RSA on the committee, on the group committee, bad word, on the group, and who will also be part of the meetings, but will not be necessarily running the meetings. They will be a liaison. If we know the answer to questions being asked in the group, great, we can just give them to you right there. If not, that liaison will take notes and then get back with everybody. That liaison will also be your formal path to send information up to the board or to get information from the board back down to you. The board maybe will task one of these membership groups to come up with, say, a new patron retention policy, right? Write us a draft of a patron retention policy. They would send that down through the staff liaison, and then once it was done, it would come back up from the staff liaison. Technical services group, like all these other membership groups, the plan is you can meet on Zoom, we can meet in person, we can meet regionally. We're working on setting up actual regions in RSA. And all of these are planned to have a listserv component as well, like a mailing list or Google group or something. So like there'll be a group membership group for schools that will probably never meet in person and probably not even on Zoom, but I'm sure that the listserv will get good use from the school people. So that's the plan on that. So I did that top bit. That email list, I think, it'll be quicker, right? You'll be able to get information much faster between. Now, to replace the RSA information regurgitation portion of all of these committee meetings and users group, we're going to start RSA membership updates monthly or every other month. We're not sure yet, but we'll be doing membership updates, and those will probably rotate their focus, right? So 1 month might be an RSA overall update, which would be kind of like a lot of the administrative information that came out during users group, with maybe a very small discussion topic if we're trying to gather some information. And then maybe the next meeting would be cataloging focused, right? So it'd have lots of cataloging topics that would be shared out with everybody. And then maybe the one after that might be something to do with member services and circulation, or, gathering information on something else. So the kind of formal RSA talking to our members, we're going to transition those over to membership updates, and hopefully have them be an hour or shorter as well, to be a little more cognizant of your time. And so again, the hope is that not only this group, but all of the groups will become more member driven, more member focused, and allow you guys to talk more amongst yourselves, both in the meetings in person and then over the listserv. And then we'll kind of monitor and jump in when needed. So like I said, just be signed up for the listserv, because then you'll learn all about all these fun changes coming in the future. Did anyone ask any questions for me in chat? All of you.
Kendall.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, it's Jenny here at Market Heights. Sorry, I don't have my camera on. I'm multitasking. We're
Fine.
smart. So did you kind of clarify with all of that if there were decisions to be made about policies, that it would maybe be discussed in a group, but then it would be decided by the board of RSA?
That is correct. So for example, if we had a policy that we needed passed by currently the way we do it, maybe it would go to users group. For us to do that under the new organization would require users group to have a quorum of the entire membership, which isn't going to happen. So how it would work is, hey, we need help with this. Let's get this written. It will probably still happen at the membership group level. Then at the board level, we have the Directors Advisory Committee, which can review things. That would be a directors level group, where we would have a couple of people from the board, 3 or 4 people appointed or elected to be on that committee. That's our core group of, 6, 8 people for OMA quorum purposes. But then every other director in RSA would be invited to attend as a guest. And then we just do our discussion as part of that meeting, right? So there's another second level at the director level to discuss policies, and if there are going to be issues with it, there's a level to discuss it there. And then the board ultimately is the one who's responsible for all of the administrative policy level yes, no's, votes for finances, all that stuff would be firmly at the board level. Now, when it comes to standards, which are not voted on by a governance leader, standards could be done at any level, right? That could come from RSA staff, that could come from the board, that could come from the Directors Advisory Group, or a standard could come out of a membership group, right? Because the standard's not a policy, it's how we are implementing a policy. And therefore, it doesn't need to be voted on, it just needs to be done.
One question, Kendall, I just thought of, we'll be taking, there'll be a call for volunteers for leadership of these groups. That will be closer to July. Is that a safe assumption, or?
Yeah, that'll probably be like a spring thing. So if you've seen that timeline, things get a little hectic towards the end of the fiscal year, because we need libraries to sign the new intergovernmental agreements. Otherwise, they're not part of the new RSA. And so RSA staff is going to be very heavily engaged in talking to everybody who did not return that. And that may include visits, right? Or networking groups in an area to answer questions and all of that. From my point of view, the change to an intergovernmental agreement and the new bylaws, that's more of a paperwork thing, honestly, for you as library management people, those of you who are in management or directors of libraries. It's more of a paperwork thing. We're just changing something so that we can do the next step of this process. And it's not, I mean, it's important that we do it correctly and it's important that we get it right. But it's from an operational standpoint from you guys, it's really not a big deal. The bigger issue will be the new fee structure that comes with it. So that'll be the thing we end up answering the most questions about, I think, starting probably in January of next year. So, but we're going to get as much of the fees or the IGA, the intergovernmental agreement, and the bylaws done prior to talking about the fee structure as we can, because that's kind of the easier bit here.
There are lots of moving pieces here, so don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions, either about the future of this group or something about the Independence Project. Like Kendall said, we're just trying to get the word out so everyone knows in advance what the plan is.
You will probably all be very tired of hearing about it and be very happy when it actually happens, because then once we get into July of next year and the part that you as member libraries are heavily involved with, which is getting us through this year's worth of governance changes, once all that happens, it'll be kind of back to normal for you guys. And then all we're doing internally is figuring out benefits plans and pay packages and all that kind of fun stuff that's important to the board doing, and it's important to RSA staff, but member libraries don't really need to be involved with that. So this is the big year from your standpoint on having to do something.
Can anyone think of any questions for Kendall at this point? Okay, thank you, Kendall, for joining us. This will be
Thanks, everybody.
a recurring agenda item, so you will hear this again in January.
And you will see updates monthly in the new newsletter.
Oh, that's
so there
right.
you go.
In the newsletter, yeah.
You'll be very tired of it.
Yeah.
Bye,
Okay.
all.
Thanks, Kendall. Okay, what is next on our agenda, Jennifer?
So we're moving on to workflows cataloging. We'll start with Erin talking about revised brief record guide.
Okay, before I get started, Pam Thomas was kind enough to give us the link to the CMC brochure and to the Stump the CMC form to fill out if you'd like to stump the CMC.
Oh, excellent. Thank you for mentioning that, Erin.
So if you need those links, they're in the chat. During the May 19th database meeting, RSA mentioned typing leave as brief into the 592 field if you want an item like a puzzle, a piece of local history to stay cataloged on a brief record. The guide How to Create a Brief Record was recently revised and is available on that link. And from page 3 of it, the new part right here is if the item, like a puzzle, equipment, or toy cataloged on the brief record should stay cataloged on that record and not be upgraded to an OCLC record. Backspace the auto-generated required field text in the 592 field. Type leave as brief into the 592 field, but don't use the quotation marks. Leave as brief will tell RSA to leave the item as is on the brief record and not to place a copy level hold to upgrade it to an OCLC record. And can I take the screen?
Yes, you should be able to share your screen if I have this set up correctly.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, and on our support site, which is support.librariesofrsa.org, to find the brief records, you can go up to the handbooks and go to the cataloging handbook. And then over on the side for how to catalog in workflows, you click on brief records. It'll bring you down to brief records right up here. And here's the guide how to create a brief record, which is the second one. You can click on that and then you can download it right there. And then you can look at that on here. And I believe it was down here, right here is the thing on page 3. Okay. Oops.
Let me
Go back
share
to
my
yours. You have to
screen
go back.
again.
Yeah.
Let's see, screen 2. Okay, good question.
Okay.
Leanne from Carlock asked what happens if they have existing brief records where leave is brief would be helpful for those. So go ahead, Erin.
Okay. Okay, where is that? What happens if you did not know about leave as brief for the 592 field, or you forgot and entered your email address? That's no problem. When we reach out to the email address provided in the 592 to let you know that a copy level hold is being placed on the item to upgrade it to an OCLC record, you can reply to that email and ask us to leave the item as is on the brief record. And then at that point, we'll delete the 592 field so we don't do it to contact you again about it. So we're not pestering you about it.
This way too, you don't feel like you have to go back in your collection and email us a list of all the brief records that need to stay put. We'll just handle them as we get to them. So just keep an eye out for those emails that come to you. And then when you don't want one upgraded, you can just let us know and we'll cancel the process at that point. Does that make sense? Any questions for Erin? Okay, thank you, Erin.
Mhm.
What is next on our agenda?
Moving to Lisa to talk about an uptick in items cataloged on wrong records.
Oh, I forgot the poll. Okay, so we'll do the poll here real quick. So have you entered leave as brief in the 592 on a brief record? So let me launch it. Okay, looks like it's slowed down. Okay, so the majority's no. So just remember, you can do this if you have something that should stay put. Okay, now we're ready for Lisa. Take it away, Lisa.
Okay, hi everybody. I am going to share my screen. Oh wait, maybe I shouldn't because I don't have I'll wait to do that. Because I don't have the PowerPoint pulled up on my computer. Oops. So anyway, so there has been like an uptick that we've noticed in the number of items on wrong records being reported to RSA for correction, which like I wouldn't necessarily take that as like a bad thing. We have no idea of knowing if there's like just more of them out there than normal. I personally like to believe it's just that more of you are like noticing them and submitting them to us, which like I'm ecstatic for, and I'm going to take this as like a good problem to have. So thank you for everybody who's been reporting stuff to me. I really love getting those emails and being able to clean up the database for you. So keep them coming. And if you haven't yet, like we'll tell you how to join in on the fun. But since we have noticed like an uptick, we thought we'd just like talk about it. Couldn't hurt, you know, in this meeting. So just general friendly reminder, just to carefully compare your item to the record, as you're cataloging, just to make sure that it matches the item you have in hand. So going through all those match points, looking at your author, your title, the edition statement, publication information, pagination, runtime, number of discs, like on and on and on and on and on. So even if like the difference is just very, very tiny and it's just the publication date that differs from your item, that still triggers the need for a new record. It's tempting to use it, but no, just keep in mind that every unique item gets its own unique record. But like if you are unsure if a record matches your item, or if you can't find something in Workflows or OCLC, if your library uses Connection or Record Manager, just remember you can always create a brief record that lets RSA know that we need to take a little look at it, give that item a little TLC and help you out. And then if you do need to report any items on wrong records, like if you happen to find them, as you're going about your day, there is a way to report them to RSA. And this is where I'm going to take over the screen and I'll show you where to find this document. It's called the Procedures for Reporting Cataloging Issues to RSA. Let's see. So I'm going to stop your screen share. Okay. So on the new and improved RSA website, you're going to go to Handbooks, and there's multiple ways to get here. So you might have your favorite way, but this is, I don't know, this is how I'm going to show it today. So you're going to go Handbooks, Cataloging Handbook. And then from here, if you're on your left-hand side looking at the contents, you can scroll down to Reporting Issues to RSA. Click on that and it'll take you to this section. And from here, there's a link for Procedures for Reporting Cataloging Issues to RSA. So I could click on that. And then all I have to do is just hit download this document here. It'll open it up for me. Sorry about that. And this is what the document looks like. For items on wrong records, it's dedicated to pages 4 and 5 in this document. So it could either be yourself. You're like, oh, my library is on the wrong record. I should, get this fixed. Or you might have received something through delivery to fill a hold and you're like, oh, I should really report this to RSA to let them know that, this item might be on the wrong record. So if you just like click on that or scroll down to page 4 or 5, there's really detailed instructions on what we need that are all listed out here, which I'm not going to get into because you all can read. But basically, it's just as simple as just reporting, sending out an email to RSA and just letting us know the title, item ID of that item. And then I will get that email and I will look into it and let you know, like once the item has been corrected in Workflows. And then Erica, I'll let you take the screen back. Once again, I was bad and I forgot to open up the PowerPoint that you made.
That's okay.
So yeah, so these are just some examples of things you might see that are items cataloged on wrong records. This is not an exhaustive list, so you might find other things out there, but the big hitters are regular print books that have been cataloged on large print records, or vice versa. You might encounter print books that have been cataloged on an online resource record. That's kind of a big one. When I was prepping for today, I actually randomly found 2 of these out in the wild. It's kind of fun. There's regular print books that have been cataloged on Wonderbook records or Vox records. Again, vice versa too. And another really big one are DVDs that are cataloged on Blu-ray records or the opposite of that. Yeah, so, it could even be something really tiny too, just like your book has bonus content, but the record you're looking at doesn't list it. And you're like, I don't know. That could be a reason to create a brief record, and we could look a little further into it and get your item on the perfect record. So everything that we're talking about today about items on wrong records, do please share this information with any staff that might encounter items on wrong records. It could be other cataloging staff, but like circulation staff as well, because they're on the front lines. They're getting those items that are coming in to fill all those holds. So please do share this information with them. And if you know, you want, you could tell them like how to report them to RSA, so that again, it could come to me and I could do my job and look into it and get the items on more beautiful matching records. So yeah, I hope to see like a further uptick in reports of items on wrong records, because again, that's a good problem to have, because it's just helping to keep the database clean. And we really do appreciate every library that sends stuff our way to let us know about this so that we can have a clean database, which ultimately results in a more positive user experience. So thank you all.
Any questions for Lisa? We were noticing the timing, of course, when Lisa was on vacation. We really were being hit with a lot of items on wrong records. That's one of Lisa's specialties, as she mentioned. So the timing always works out that way. Okay, if there's no questions for Lisa, thank you. Okay, what is next on our agenda?
Next is upcoming basic workflows cataloging workshops. Jennifer.
Jennifer's unfortunately unable to join us today, but we do have a slide with the information, so I'll go ahead and share it with you. The next workshop, we have one next week, but the registration for the basic workflows cataloging workshop next week has closed. But we do have one in late October with registration closing the 9th. I put the L2 registration link there. We have another one mid-November with registration closing a couple weeks ahead of time, October 31st. And then the final workshop for this year is mid-December. So that one closes at the end of November, and the links provided there. These cataloging workshops, they're also listed in our cataloging at a glance cheat sheet, which I know we've talked about before, but I'll show you where that is again. And then they're also posted on the L2 calendar. And remember, watch the RSA listserv because we'll send invitations to those closer to them. We will schedule more of these workshops next year and get them posted on L2, so stay tuned to the listserv once we have them up and running. The cataloging at a glance cheat sheet, if I go ahead and go back to the home page, support.librariesofrsa.org, I think the search feature is helpful, especially if you have a unique word like glance, since it's at a glance cheat sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and search for that. Notice it's the first result. So if I go ahead and click on that, then I can download it. We updated this, I think, last month, just to get some links to the new support site versus the old support site. But much of the information is still the same. You'll just see some updated links here in the middle. Okay, any questions about the upcoming workshops? Okay. What is next on our agenda?
Next, we're back to Rhonda to talk about recently created cataloging parameters.
Thank you, Jennifer. Oh no, hold on just a second. My headset is dying.
Oh no.
Thankfully, I have a cord that's long enough. All right, so first up we have home locations that have been created since the last database committee meeting. You'll notice we have a couple of different graphic novel home locations that were created for a school that had broken up their graphic novel collection by age group. So I thought that was kind of neat. We also have a new home location for Vox and Wonder Books. So I thought those were great. So if you see any of those and you'd like to have them added to your drop downs, let us know, email. I will show you a list where you can see the lists at any time on the website after we go through all the codes. Just makes more sense that way. Okay, item types. We've had 2 new item types, although one of them isn't really new. It's just a call it a tweak to its description. And but we realized we don't have very many kit item types. And if you aren't just wanting just kits, then you have kits, and then you have J kits, and then we have no other kits. So we came up with kit special for the request of a library. So we got that in there. If you'd like to use that code, let us know. So let's go on to our next parameter list.
Oh, did you want to mention, Rhonda, about the MP3 audio, what we did with that?
Oh, the MP3 audio was edited to use for a new kind of preloaded audiobook called the Go Reader to avoid using playaways as an item type for those, since they aren't technically playaways.
Right.
All right, so item category 1, 2, and 3, no new codes were created. Yay. So we're going to move on to 4. We got a few good ones added there. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think we have that added to both 4 and 5. But docuseries, large print, and mythological fiction. So, you know, that's kind of cool, mythology fiction. Then on to item cat 5. We have DEI again and a couple new age ranges. All right, so if you would like to have any of these added to your collection, or you have suggestions for other codes, please email the help desk at help@rsanfp.org and let us know what you're thinking. Remember that item type is what runs circ and hold rules. It is not home location. It's always going to be item type. I get a lot of people who get those two things mixed up. They'll say, hey, I want this home location to circ this way. I was like, it doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. It works by item type. So just keep that in mind, that if you want a new, you know, if you want something to circ and have different hold rules than other things in your collection, you have to keep that in mind. All right, so I'm going to show you where you can find the parameter lists on the website as soon as I can get this to stop sharing so I can share my stuff. There we go. Now. All right, everyone see my screen? We're good, good. All right. So here on the website, if you're looking for the cataloging parameters, this is my favorite way to do it. I just go by topics. And if you notice, it says parameters. I click parameters because I use this website a lot. And then because I am the queen of cataloging parameters, I always choose cataloging parameters. And you'll notice on the left-hand side, it lists all the different parameters. So if you want to see item type, you would click on item type, it'll take you to it. If you want to see item category 5, there it goes. Then you click here and you get your list. And this, of course, will take forever, so we're not going to download that. But that's how it works. Does anyone have any questions? I will turn that back over to you, Miss Erica.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa, for sharing the link for the parameters page in the chat. Good idea.
Thank you.
Okay. What is next on our agenda?
Next is the RSA annual cataloging theme. Well, first is RSA progress, upgrading brief records to OCLC records. So back to Erin.
Thank you. 1,326 is the number of brief records upgraded since we started back in May 19th of this year. RSA continues to work through a system-wide report of brief records with email addresses in the 592 fields. upgrading them to OCLC records. We work through the report oldest to newest based on the brief record creation date. And we are currently upgrading brief records entered in September and October of last year. As of September 1st, we have resumed taking holds for school brief items in need of upgrade. We're starting to put holds on school items. And thank you to those libraries that have filled RSA's holds and sent brief items in the delivery so they can be upgraded to full OCLC records. Your help improving the database and the user experience is much appreciated. And remember to reply to RSA's email if you do not want to send the item. We will cancel the hold and delete the 592 field so we do not contact you again about this item. And remember to, from now on, if you don't want to, when you're actually putting in a brief record, just put in leave as brief in the 592 field.
Thank you, Erin. Does anyone have any questions for Erin? Okay, what is next?
Next it's to you, Erica, to talk about the CMC backlog project.
The much awaited backlog project. We're getting our ducks in a row. But first, we'll do our third poll. So let me launch that. Okay, so since the last database meeting on May 19th, have we contacted you about upgrading one of your brief records? Looks like the numbers are still moving. Okay, now it's slowed down. Good. Over 50% you've heard from us, so that's great. Okay. I thought I'd give you the slide again. You've seen this a couple times already, but this way we can just make sure we're staying on track with our annual theme. And the last part of this, we'll talk about the plan for the backlog. So we did complete our portion of the cataloging request backlog back in March. We did establish that procedure that we follow when we reach out to you to ask you to send an item to us for OCLC cataloging. Let's see, we also made that procedure that we internally follow when we work with your items for OCLC cataloging. And then, as Erin just mentioned, we've been reaching out to you since March, and we're well exceeding our 150 brief items per month, our target goal. In terms of the Cataloging Maintenance Center, they're going to help us, thankfully, much appreciated, with our encoding level 8 and M records that are in the backlog. We have training scheduled for early October, so just a couple weeks from now. There's about 4,600 of these from as far back as 2017. So, excuse me, so we will be revisiting these. As I mentioned, they'll do training in early October. After that, watch the listserv for an announcement letting you know that they've started to work on the backlog. If you have cataloging requests in this backlog, and most of you in this meeting do, you will hear from the CMC staff as they process the requests. You may be asked to send your item to the Cataloging Maintenance Center if the scans that were originally submitted with the cataloging request have been lost, they're unreadable, or they're incomplete. We really appreciate your cooperation if you're asked to send an item. doing that so that the encoding level M or 8 record can be improved to full description. Remember, the more description that the record has, the better it is for searching and helping you and your users understand what it's about, and ultimately if you want to check it out or place it on hold. So stay tuned. This project is coming. We're getting things lined up. Does anyone have any questions about the annual theme before we take a break? Okay, good. Thank you, Elizabeth. I like that. I heard from you and said the item, just not sure on the timing. Yeah, that's okay. As long as you're sending it or telling us if you don't want to. Okay, I'm going to pause the recording. So let's take a 5-minute break. I've got 2 o'clock. So let's reconvene at 2:05. I'll start a timer in a few seconds. So let me pause it.
I was just about to remind you.
I'm making a conscious effort this meeting, but I still need the reminder. So thank you, Rhonda. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. Let's go ahead and push forward. What is our next topic?
Next is audio versus book format records for Wonder Books and Box Books.
Okay. Thank you to Jennifer Jacobson Wood at Peoria Public Library for asking this question. Wonder Books and Vox, also called audio-enabled books more generically, there's 2 different ways of cataloging them. They can either use the record type book or they can use the audio record type, which is technically called the non-musical sound recording. RSA best practice is to use the audio, the non-musical sound recording type of record. We'll look at an example here in a minute. But we did document this in the guide for audio enabled books that's out on our support site. So let's take a look at that. So if I go back to the home page, and then if I go back to handbooks and then cataloging handbook. Okay, so notice under best practices, there's guide for audio enabled books, Wonder Books and Vox. So if I open that up and click the link to download it. So on the second page where it talks about match points between your item and the record, we added a field about the record type just because, like I said, it can be done both ways, book or the audio. So you're going to be looking for in workflows and in OCLC connection, the type of I. In workflows, it's labeled rec type. In OCLC connection, it's just type. So let me take a look here at a record. I'm going to do Big Nate Lives It Up. And I just want to pull up Wonder Book. Okay. So if I open this one here, notice the record type's I. So that means it's used the non-musical sound recording or the audio format. We go back to the next record. This one has record type A, so it's using the book type. To be honest, there is not much difference in these records and how they appear in the RSA CAT. I know some of the other consortia in the state of Illinois, you might have seen on the Rails Technical Services listserv, there was some discussion about this the past few weeks. We do not generate our format icons in the RSA CAT based on the record type. Some shared catalogs in Illinois do though, so it would be much more important to use one type of record or the other if it's determining the little icon that shows in the online catalog for your users. But ours is based on the item type, so that makes it critically important that you're using the correct item type. We decided to go with the audio or the non-musical sound recording. We did want to give you a preference though, because out in OCLC, there's often records for both types. So if you have the choice of using that book record with the A type or the non-musical sound recording with the I type, prefer the I type. There's a couple reasons. I really liked this quote from the AutoCat listserv. What makes these items unique is the audio. If they didn't have the audio, they'd just be another book. So they really should be cataloged as a sound recording with the text as accompanying. And then Jennifer at Peoria, she did make a good point that the item type we recommend using for Wonderbooks and Vox is audiobooks. So that too suggests that the audio component is the primary format of the two. We use the description all-in-one audiobook, read and listen. And then this item type is mapped to the audiobook item category 3, which is that general format search in the RSA CAT. So there's audio all over in the cataloging codes that you're using for these. So that too suggests that the audio really is the primary format, at least in our interpretation of it. We talked about how to look for the record type value up in the fixed fields at the top of the record. While we do prefer the records coded I for the non-musical sound recording, if you have the choice, you can use a record with the type A for the book, especially if the book record is the only one that's available that matches your item. As I mentioned a couple minutes ago, the record type doesn't really matter in the RSA CAT. The records display very similarly. And I put a couple screenshots here. So this record here on the left is the non-musical sound recording record. Notice in the result list in the RSA CAT, it displays the same bits of information. And it pulls that format based off of the audiobook item type, so not the type of record. The book record, very similar. And again, it's pulling that format icon based off of the item type that's assigned to the Wonderbook or the Vox. If you notice duplicate records and workflows for a Wonderbook or a Vox, where one record's coded as A for the book and another record for that title is coded as I for the non-musical sound recording, please report them to us at the help desk. That way we can transfer the items from the book record onto the sound recording record. That way everything's on one record and it'll fill holds more quickly too for your patrons if all the copies are cataloged on one record versus split across multiple records. We do have instructions how to report duplicate records in the procedures for reporting cataloging issues to RSA that Lisa showed you earlier in the meeting. I'm considering a plan. I don't have the specifics yet, but internally we're probably going to be doing some cleanup of these audio-enabled book records where there's both the book type and the non-musical sound recording type. We do have some duplicates out there, so we're going to be doing some cleanup internally. But still, if you come across these, your help reporting them is appreciated, especially because we know these records are being added all the time. And remember, consolidating duplicates results in a better end experience for your user. Less confusion with multiple records, items attached to one record, so holds can fill more quickly. So it really does help the end result. You don't need to go back. I didn't put on the slide, but you don't need to go back and recatalog anything that you might have put on a book type record. It's okay. Just keep an eye out though if you're noticing duplicates where there's both the book record and the non-musical sound recording record. Does anyone have any questions about this topic? Okay, what is our next agenda item?
Next, we're back to Lisa to talk about seeing unfamiliar marked fields on records.
Okay, take it away, Lisa.
Hi again. So unfamiliar mark fields on records. So most of you are probably aware that the future of cataloging is linked data and BibFrame. And this is making library bibliographic data more just, the idea behind it is to make library bibliographic data more discoverable on the wider web, you know, just beyond just online library catalogs. So to make bibliographic data in MARC records more workable with the web, you may start seeing, or maybe you've already seen these, just kind of more unfamiliar fields, new terminology for things, or even different formatting in records, especially newer ones that are being brought into workflows or newer records you're seeing out in OCLC Connection, if your library uses Connection. As always, if you have questions about a record that you're looking at or suspect, you know, that the odd data that you're seeing might be an error that needs corrected, do contact the RSA Help Desk for guidance, and we'll be able to help you sort that out. You can also learn more about MARC fields in the OCLC bibliographic formats and standards, which is linked here. And remember, like, if you see any of these like unfamiliar fields to you, please do not delete any fields from a record just because you're unfamiliar with it, or if it looks a little odd. Again, if you have questions, reach out to the help desk and we can help you. But the reason why you don't want to delete them is that they may be helpful in the future as we start to transition into BibFrame. So you don't want to undo that work that people have been doing. And ultimately, like, if you see weird things, like, it's most likely not going to hurt anything. The only thing I've seen look weird upon import is like diacritics. That's not really like a new field. So it's not going to hurt anything. So to kind of give you an example of like what we're talking about here, I'm going to take control of the screen and we're going to look at a record in workflows. So let me just screen share. Okay, so I have this record pulled up. And for those that want to pull it up in workflows as well, it's record title control number 13961593339. And when you enter that in, it's going to be for Pokemon Adventures XY Volume 6. When I hit modify and pull it up on my screen here, the first thing you're probably going to be like, that's weird, is this field 072. And it's a subject category code. Admittedly, I'm not very familiar with this code myself in this field. It's like I looked up what this means, and it's a code for a subject category that is like associated with the item that's being described. If I were to take a guess, like I bet this YGN is probably for like youth graphic novel. So there's some like thesauri out there that has these codes to describe items, and you might see them in an 072. If you see them, don't freak out. Again, they're there for like BibFrame purposes. So this one has quite a few 072 fields listed here. Like some other things that we wanted to highlight that you might see, you know, if you're using the 082 field for the Dewey Decimal Classification number as you catalog nonfiction items, you might start noticing that after the subfield 2, where, you know, we list like information of like where we accessed and like what edition we're using to like get the Dewey Decimal number, you might see that it's kind of like starting to trail on with way more information. You can just ignore all this over here. You really just need to focus on like the Dewey Decimal number itself. But if you start seeing Dewey Decimal numbers that look weird like this, it's okay to look like that. Some other fields you might be seeing, scroll on down a little bit. Okay, that's good. So it's really focused in the 3XX area. So you might be seeing like this 334 field for like mode of issuance, where it might say like single unit. That's just saying like, this is just one book. This is all it is. You might see that. You're probably going to see a lot more of these 340 fields that help describe like, you know, the physical attributes of an item. So in this case, it's just telling me that it has black and white images. This perfect binding just means that it's a paperback. And that also kind of gets repeated down here in this binding info section in the 563. The idea is just machines like having things very granular. So you're going to see a lot of like more granularity added to records just to kind of help machines so that when we move to this like linked data, bib frame, like perfect paradise moving forward, the machines can read it better. So that's why you're seeing things like more broken out. But those are kind of the most common things you'll see. Yeah, so I'm gonna turn back screen privileges back to Erica, but does anybody have any questions? Has anybody seen any of these or seen other ones that were not listed here? No? And thank you, Erin, for putting in that title control number for me. Okay. All right. Well, yeah.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, just remember, don't delete anything. Like Lisa said, they don't hurt anything being on the record. There is a committee that's one of their jobs is deciding new mark fields, and I thought, oh, how many new mark fields can there be? The cataloging team here, we participated in a webinar not too long ago, and they talked about several new mark fields. So this is still very much alive and well. Mark isn't going anywhere, even though the future is bib frame, like Lisa mentioned. Okay, good. So you'll also see those 334 and 34X fields if you use the Cataloging Maintenance Center. They put them on their records too. So that makes sense. Okay. What is next on our agenda?
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, yeah, that is something that we are adding to records too. I should have mentioned that. Like when we work on records and bring them in to workflows, we are adding those fields there. So yeah, sorry, I should have mentioned that, but we're doing it too. So you'll probably see more and more of it, especially as we're going through the brief record report.
Good point. Yeah. Okay, what is next?
Next, we'll talk about OCLC cataloging, starting with the OCLC connection browser sunset next year.
Much like the Independence Project, this is probably also a topic you'll be tired of hearing about when it actually happens. I know we talked about it earlier this year at the May meeting. So just remember that Connection Browser, it's going to be discontinued on April 30th, 2024. If you're using Connection Browser, you go to a page in your internet browser that looks like this. Remember that OCLC Connection Client and OCLC Record Manager, they will continue. So these cataloging interfaces are not going away on April 30th of next year. You don't need to do anything if you use the client or the record manager. There's lots of training on using client and record manager on the OCLC page. I put the link there. We'll continue offering the BibLoad workshop every month. That one focuses on how to use Connection Client to make bibliographic records usable for RSA. So how to put the 949 local holdings tag, how to get them out of the client, how to bring them into workflows. There will be additional reminders about the discontinuation of Connection Browser. I'll post on the listserv closer to April 30th, just to remind everybody that the end is coming. If you have any questions about the Connection Browser sunset, you can reach out to OCLC support. I put the email and the phone there. And then we have had a couple questions from members. RSA does not require you to use OCLC Connection or Record Manager. It's a local library decision, so check with your director or your supervisor if you're not sure if you're supposed to be cataloging at that level. But really, we can't tell you yes or no. It's, like I said, a local library decision. Oh, that's good to know, Pam. Pam says she asked OCLC if connection client would go away in the future and was emphatically told it would not. Yeah, there's a lot of functionality that you can't do in Record Manager that the connection client does. So I hope the connection client doesn't go anywhere either. Okay, does anybody have any questions about the connection browser sunset? Okay, what is our next topic?
We'll stick with you, Erica, to talk about upcoming RSA BibLoad workshops.
I think first I might have had a poll. Yes, okay, this is our last poll. So let me launch it. We've heard from a couple of you already, so I thought I would just do a poll of the group to see if anybody else has switched. So if your library was using Connection Browser, have you already switched to Client or Record Manager? Okay, the results are mixed. It's still moving a little bit. Okay, we'll go ahead and end it. Okay, so it looks like we have some that have 15%, just over 40 have not, and then close to 40% didn't use Connection Browser. Okay, you still got time, so we'll keep doing reminders. Okay. We have BibLoad workshops scheduled October and December. I put the registration links on the slide, and registration closes about a week beforehand. These workshops, like the basic workflows cataloging workshops, they're listed on the Cataloging at a Glance cheat sheet, and they're also posted on the L2 calendar. We'll schedule additional workshops for the BibLoad training in 2024. I'm going to continue with the every other month frequency. That seems to be working out pretty well rather than doing one each month. Doing them every other month this year, I think I've taught every workshop since there's been enough people that have registered. So that's the goal. So we will continue every other month unless there happens to really be an uptick in demand for them. Just remember to read the workshop requirements on L2 and in the listserv post carefully and start working on those video requirements on the OCLC website as soon as possible to make sure you have enough time to get them finished before the workshop. Does anyone have any questions about BibLoad workshops? Okay, what is our last topic in this section?
Still with you, Erica, to talk about OCLC machine learning merging update.
I thought this was a really neat idea, harnessing the power of machine learning to try and clean up duplicate records in OCLC WorldCat. Last month, OCLC ran this machine learning process for the first time. It removed over 432,000 duplicate records from WorldCat. And that was just looking at book records in English, French, German, Italian, and Spanish. So just think if they run this against the whole WorldCat eventually, it's going to remove so many more records. The process continues to merge duplicate book records in those languages. I didn't put it on the slide, but they had done a test. Was that late last year or earlier this year? But OCLC had volunteers identify duplicate records so that they could feed it into this machine learning process to help it determine what's a duplicate and what's not. So it's based off of testing that volunteers did to help get this new process up and running. So just like in workflows, merging the duplicates in WorldCat, it improves cataloging, discovery, interlibrary loan, the same benefits. And then I did put a link to a blog post that talks more about their machine learning project. in case you'd like more information about it. But this is really cutting edge what it's doing to try and cut down on the duplicate problem in WorldCat. Does anyone have any questions about that? Not really anything you need to do per se, but just something neat to know about what's going on in the wider cataloging community. Okay, I put my name next to this one, but I think Jennifer, we can have you do the Let's Celebrate one. So let's jump to that in the slides. So if you want to talk about our new and our upgrading members.
Sure. So is it just, yeah, there's the, oh, was this the one where the high school switched to the elementary school? I remember
It's a
hearing
little
about this in the past.
confusing.
Yes,
Yeah.
So there's their code up the top there. So it's a new RSA member library when the high school withdrew from RSA. And then about half the collection is cataloged, hooray. But, you know, no staff or time to make additional progress. Sounds about right. Not yet live for circulation or holds. And then, yeah, sounds like RSA is trying to determine if they want to remain a member. So, hopefully that work hasn't gone to nothing. So,
Was there anything, Anthony, you wanted to chime in on? I know you had mentioned ROVA a little bit the other day.
Yeah. So Sarah has reached out to the superintendent at that district just to, as that last bullet point said, see what they want to try and do. I think the last time anything new was added to workflows was quite a few years ago. So it sounds like it's gone a little stuck. So we're reaching out and we're hoping to get some clarification from their superintendent.
So you may see this library disappear from the slide deck for the next meeting if we get some clarification about what their plan is. But like you said, Jennifer, I'm hoping everything that they've done doesn't go to waste and maybe they'll be able to get started again. So we'll just have to see what happens. But yeah, helpful information. Thank you, Anthony. Okay, who's the next one?
next is Farmer City. There's Farmer City Public Library. So there's their workflows code there. They're an existing RSA member on the union list. They got the LSAP grant for automation. So hooray, they finished cataloging, are currently entering patrons. They have circulation training scheduled for mid-October. And not yet live for circulation or holds. But it sounds like they're well on their way.
Oops, we're going backwards. Okay. Okay, this is the last one.
And then Mason Memorial Public Library. They're an existing RSA member on the union list. They're interested in upgrading their membership from basic or membership level to basic online from the union list and are participating in the basic workflows cataloging workshop next week. It's a good workshop. I'm sure they'll enjoy it.
They're trying to get caught up cataloging. I know they have some things in the collection that were never put into workflows. So they're trying to get caught up and then doing the workshop to make sure they're doing it correctly. So both of those are positive steps in the right direction, especially if they do decide to move ahead and upgrade. Okay. And then all that's left is our service anniversary. So I'll jump to that. Okay. Do you want to do that one too, Jennifer?
Sure. It's Lisa Shemensky, 6 years in July. Congrats, Lisa. If anyone else has celebrated your service anniversary since our May 19th database meeting, please share in the chat. I'm too lazy to type, so I will just say that I've been at Normal here as of August, 22 years.
Wow, 22 years. Good for you. Congratulations. Before we end the meeting, does anyone have any questions about anything we discussed, or is there anything else anyone would like to ask, or anything going on in your library that you'd like to share? Okay, I'll let you end the meeting, Jennifer. So take it away on the last slide.
Sure. So next database committee meeting is Friday, January 26th, 2024, which seems like a long ways away. At 9:30 a.m. to noon on Zoom. Watch the listserv once registration is open. And I think that's it.
Excellent. Thank you everyone for joining us. Have a good rest of your day and hope to see you in January. Bye-bye.